Well, good evening, everybody. This is your host, and thank you for tuning in to another episode this evening. So, tonight we will not have a guest join us for those of you that saw my Facebook post earlier. So, instead, we're going to dive into some key important topics, especially events that have occurred over the past few weeks. Some of you that follow Pickens politics may know that Pickens County GOP is under suspension until the month of September, so we'll dive into what all occurred there. And we'll also be covering other things as well, including the riots that have occurred in, or still are occurring in Los Angeles, and also my recent trip over to Monterrey, Nuevo Leon in Mexico this past week. So again, thank you for tuning in this evening, and this is your host, Mason Sims, and let's get started. There's a few things I've learned that if y'all decide to travel to Mexico, make sure that you keep this in mind. This is something I wish I would have known. Well, first, I went to the plane that I went on. It flew out of the Atlanta National Airport. Excuse me, the Atlanta International Airport. One thing I wish I would have done is there is a currency exchange right there at the airport. And I didn't think it would be an issue, Monterey being only roughly 3 hours southeast of the U.S. Mexico border. But I have learned that it is very important that you exchange your currency for the pesos. And it was pretty interesting because where I exchanged my money over in Monterey, it was an interesting story. You could do a lot of different things there. You could exchange your currency over there at the store, and you could exchange either American dollars, Canadian dollars, euros for pesos. So you can exchange your currency there, and you can also get your vaccine there. You can also purchase a four-wheeler or a motorcycle, or you could also purchase a washing machine. So that store served many purposes. So that was interesting. Another thing I'd recommend doing is, based on the public restrooms that I went, make sure you bring your own toilet paper. I had to, unfortunately, I had to learn that the hard way because I was at a public park where there were soccer fields, baseball fields, and football fields, and all the bathrooms did not have toilet paper. And this comes in handy when you have a girlfriend or spouse with you because they have a purse to put toilet paper in. So make sure when you do go out and about in Mexico that you bring toilet paper because more than likely the public restrooms will not have it. I know that the airport did, but there's a lot of restrooms I went to when I was out in public that did not carry toilet paper. Also, you may know this, but Coke in Mexico is a lot different than the United States. The reason being is because they use pure cane sugar, and it's definitely addicting too. I think I had close to like a 2 liter bottle of Coke from Mexico, and I downed the whole thing in one sitting. So it definitely tastes a lot better in Mexico because of the pure cane sugar they use rather than the fructose syrup that we use here in America. So that was interesting. So the last issue we're going to tackle on this evening is what happened at the state EC meeting in Columbia just about a week ago. So basically what happened in a few months back was at the county convention at Southern Wesleyan University. The county convention was held for the Pickens Republican Party. And what had happened was there had been reports that Bob Federley had turned away potential delegates in the county convention once the venue had gotten full. And because of that, this potentially could have affected the outcome of the elections for the officers, which is basically the leadership roles in the Pickens Republican Party, and also the state delegates also to represent Pickens County and Columbia that following month. So basically, there are 24 total spots for state delegates, and even though those people were turned away, we did have people elected as state delegates. So the following month at the state convention, Pickens was disqualified from the state convention due to the allegations and what Bob Federley had done. Some feel like it was too extreme, and others felt like it was the right call. But one thing I did notice, and maybe people had mentioned this, maybe not, but since that was a mistake that Bob Federley made, I think it's fair if he should have been the one to go down there to explain what he had done wrong and admitted to the mistake. It shouldn't have been Rhonda Billingsley having to go up there to go up there to defend why the Pickens Republican state delegates should be allowed to participate in the state convention. So again, Rhonda Billingsley, she's a member of the Pickens Republican Party, and she's currently the elect for the state EC to Columbia. So, what happened in the state EC meeting in Columbia this past June, which actually just about a week or so ago, the Pickens Republican Party has been suspended until September until they come up with a way to be reinstated. So others may feel like this was too extreme a consequence. Others feel like it was spot on. And honestly, the Pickens Republican Party could have been disorganized, but they do have a chance to correct the mistakes that have been made and come up with a good, solid plan to move forward. And I would encourage the leadership to keep some of this stuff in mind. One, it seems like they're doing this already, is to recruit. Everything starts from the grassroots. A lot of people, focus on what happens with like their governor and the national levels, but really the most important thing is your everyday life, the grassroots. That is what is number one. So I encourage you to recruit during this time to continue to increase numbers. Another thing I would like to mention as well is it seems like people are being discouraged. I know me personally, I've been discouraged in the past that the Republican Party for Pickens County has gotten too extreme. And I would say it's safe to say right here in our county, Pickens County, that we agree probably may even be higher than this, but I would say we probably agree on about 90% of the issues here in the county. And that's huge. The one thing I notice is that the one thing you don't agree on, it kind of seems like, you're an outcast or you don't belong in the party, you're a rhino. And that's got to stop. And again, that's not just Pickens Republican Party. I mean, that's happening across the board. One thing Donald Trump says, love him or hate him, he is right about this. It doesn't matter how extreme or how moderate someone is in the Democratic Party. They seem to be able to get along regardless. And those that don't, they either go independent or they decide to go to another party. The problem with the Republican Party, and this is one thing I don't like about it, is they cannot seem to ever get along. Is it seems like they're mostly fighting each other than they are against the other party. So that's one thing that I would encourage too is, be more welcoming. If people don't agree with everything they have to say, still invite them and express your ideas and feel free to listen to theirs, and that'll go a long way. And another thing I'd like to mention as well is if you are reinstated, I encourage you to have more town halls. That's one thing that the Pickens Republican Club has done very well, is they're having town halls. And not only that, they have a variety of speakers that come there. One thing that appears to me that the PCRP has done is they have the similar elected officials that come there and speak. So usually like Alex Seda, Denise Davis, and Thomas Beach. And they've had a lot of great accomplishments, don't get me wrong. But have some variety. I mean, just don't stick with the same people. Branch out. Because right now the club, they were gonna have, Josh Ginrell, let's see. They had Alan Wilson, and now that they're gonna have Curtis Loftus in the next few weeks. So branch out. Try to go even beyond the state. Get some good speakers to come. That's why I'm doing this podcast, is I really enjoy having a variety. I don't want to limit myself just to a few people. Try to get more town halls, and that will go a long way in helping to increase your membership. So again, and people, they think that this is a extreme consequence, but the way I see it, it's a way to correct what's been done wrong. And I will say this too, it's not seems like people are putting everything on Bob Federley. Even though he did play a part in this, it's not entirely his fault. There have been things in the Pickens GOP that's been leading up to this, and I feel like now just the chickens are coming home to roost. So, but they do have a chance to correct it. So I would encourage you, while you are under the suspension, to keep these few things in mind moving forward. I do believe they are having a barbecue this coming Saturday, so I would encourage you, if you don't really have much plans, yeah, feel free to do that. It's going to be a big anniversary for our armed forces, for the United States Army, Donald Trump's birthday. So it'll be good to go there and be with some like-minded individuals to celebrate the big day. So that's pretty much what I just want to mention for the Pickens Republican Party. I know there's been a lot of bad things that have gone on, and I've been part of it. But I encourage you, now with the new leadership, correct it and get them moving back in the right direction like they once were. And that concludes our show for this evening. If you have not already, please feel free to click like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel for future updates, and also follow our Facebook page as well. I'll keep you posted too on our first live event. It's going to be a town hall with Mark Lynch. More than likely, it is going to be towards the end of July. And we have agreed on a location. It's going to be somewhere in the northern Greenville County, so like the Berea Travelers Rest area. So if you have a venue in mind that you think we would be able to get into, feel free to put in the comment section, or feel free to reach out to me anytime. We'll be more than happy to be open to suggestions on where we could have this venue. Also, I've reached out to Glenn Jacobs. Some of you may know him, for WWE fans out there, as the Big Red Monster Kane. I've reached out to his secretary as well, and we could have him on our show later on this summer as well. So again, thank you for all tuning in this evening. Good night, all, and God bless America. Thank you.